This is the Bond Intarsia Keyplate. This was designed for the original Blue Bond and the Classic. Now this will work with the Incredible sweater machine and the Ultimate sweater machine, but you need to bear in mind that the keyplate sizes are based on the original Bond keyplates and not the keyplates that came with the Incredible sweater machine and the Ultimate sweater machine. It is interchangeable, it will work with the ISM and the USM, but as I said, the keyplate sizes are slightly different and I'll talk more about that later. So we knit with the regular keyplate until we want to start working with the Intarsia. So when you want to begin Intarsia, we unthread the carriage. And if you're using an old Bond carriage like this that has the fabric guide, we want to pop the fabric guide out at one side like that, so we can free the yarn that is trapped inside it like that. So we've freed the yarn from the carriage completely. Pop the fabric guide back in, make sure the fabric guide is put back in properly if you're using the old Bond carriage. So we've freed up the yarn and we want to put the yarn on the floor in front of us. We work with the yarn on the floor in front of the machine when knitting Intarsia. So take out the regular keyplate. You want to set the Intarsia keyplate to the same keyplate size you were using before. I'll show you how to adjust this later. We want to set it into the carriage, making sure it's under the two pips at the back in the usual way. Close the handle and take the carriage off and put it on the opposite side of the machine. So you'll have the yarn at one side and you'll have the carriage at the opposite end. This is so we can set the needles up for Intarsia, which will be in the forward working position. So with the carriage at the opposite side, we run the carriage across, and that shoots all the needles out to forward working position with their latches open. If the latches have closed at all, make sure they're open, and we're ready to begin knitting Intarsia. We lay the yarn into the hooks of the needles where we want to change colour. Every section of colour will be a different ball of yarn in Intarsia. The carriage knits towards the source of the yarn, so my carriage is on the right here, so my tail end has to be on this side. There we go. So I've not added any tension on the yarn, I'm not holding them at all. I'm just going to knit across, because this is a loose end. It might need a bit of stability on this first row. There we go. Just like when knitting with the regular keyplates, you don't want to apply any tension onto the yarn. I'm just going to knit a block of two colours here just to make things simple for this one-handed video technique. So where the colours connect, we grab the next colour we're going to use underneath the second colour, so we bring it up under the first one so that it's crossed like that, and that prevents a hole from forming. Obviously there'll be a hole where you first join the yarn of the contrast colour, but we can close that up afterwards. So not holding the yarns. You don't have to hold the yarns at all with the Intarsia Keyplate. Some people do, it's whatever you find easier, but you don't actually have to hold it. The needles will catch the yarn just fine. Okay. I'm just going to attach a clip to this loose end because it's getting on my nerves. There we go. Bring the yarns over. Whoops, it's fell off. Not very strong, these clips that came with the ISM. Not as good as the ones that came with the original Bond Classic and the Blue Bond. hopefully that'll stay. Okay, so I've laid the main colour in here. I'm going to grab the contrast from behind, so they're crossed, like that. And we'll just continue knitting. Of course, make sure the latches are open as you lay the yarn into them. Otherwise, we will drop stitches. Crossing the yarns again, as you can see. If there's any slack, just pull it out before knitting. Cross the yarns, as you can see. Just like with the regular key plate, as I said before, you want no tension on the yarn. You want the yarn to be completely free-flowing. And you should have success. Literally, I'm not holding... excuse me. I'm not holding the yarns at all. I'm just running the carriage across. As long as you take out that bit of slack once you've laid the yarns in, see it's lay straight across the needles. You can literally just go across and it'll knit just fine. So to close up this hole, you want to get the latch tool. You can close it up after you've got the knitting off the machine, it's up to you. But this is what we do. Let's take that clip off of the yarn. This is the crossover stitch here, where we first crossed the yarns. We want to grab the hook of the tool through that crossover stitch and grab that first tail there from the contrast and pull it through. Fasten it off like that. Then we can hide that end. We can weave it up through the where the crosses are there, where the yarns are connected. See how that connects the yarns, crossing them, so we don't have a hole. We can weave this end in and tidy that up. But there we go. You can make up geometric patterns as you go along, just throwing colours in there for the fun of it. You don't have to follow a chart if you want to just be spontaneous, but most Intarsia designs you follow a chart, and according to your chart is where it tells you what needles to put what colour on, and that's how you end up with your pictures. And there we go, simple as that. So to adjust the stitch size, I've got it on 1.5 at the moment, which is probably hard to see. But what we do is, you see how this, if we lift up on this tab here, you see it's spring loaded, you lift it up and drag it forward to number 1, and then you can push forward on this tab here 1 notch at a time if you push it slowly. So it's on 1 at the minute. That's 1.5. That'd be key plate 2. Key plate 2.5. Key plate 3. Key plate 3.5. And key plate 4, which is all the way at the end. So it's fully adjustable. So this is the Bond Classic Intarsia Keyplate. So this was for the original Blue Bond, the Classic, which is branded on there, and this one was for the ISM as well. They came out with a different one for the Ultimate Sweater machine. If you've got a later Intarsia Keyplate that was designed for the USM, it'll be black like this or yellow, and it won't say Bond Classic Intarsia on it, it'll say Bond America Intarsia Keyplates or something like that. But the original one said Bond Classic on them. And those keyplate sizes 1 to 4 and the halves in between it are for the old bond key plates, and I'll show you what that means. Here is, I'll get both key plate 2s. I can, hang on a second. Here is the ISM keyplate 2, and you see it's got a dot above it. The USM ones are exactly the same as the ones that came with the ISM, but they're green, and the USM keyplate 2 and 3 are double-sided, whereas in the ISM set they're clear and single-sided. But they are the same. They'll say dot 1, dot 2, dot 3 and dot 4. Well, the original bond keyplates didn't have the dot. They were just 1, 2, 3 and 4, and the sizes of old bond keyplate 1, old bond keyplate 2 are different than the ISM and USM keyplate dot 1 and dot 2. And of course you have the dot 2.5 and dot 3.5 on the USM keyplates, which are the green ones. So that's something to bear in mind if you get one of these Intarsia keyplates. If you get an old Bond Classic Intarsia keyplate, the keyplate sizes will relate to the old Bond keyplate sizes. The USM Intarsia keyplate that says Bond America on it will represent the ISM and USM keyplate sizes. So hopefully that hasn't thrown a spanner in the works too much for you and you're not too confused. But there we are anyway. That's the Intarsia keyplate.